up their case, Cohen will likely be the last key witness to testify for the prosecution. Cohen is at the center of the hush money payment and is expected to implicate Trump in covering up reimbursement checks to Cohen for paying off adult film star Stormy Daniels. Joining me now to break down all of this is CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. All right, Joey, let's start here, if that's all right. If everything goes right for the prosecution, what is the best case scenario for Michael Cohen's testimony?
Danny, good morning to you. Listen, great question. Here's the answer. I think everyone's waiting for the cross-examination of Michael Cohen, right? I think that we certainly know what he's going to say, that is Michael Cohen. Think about it this way. To date, all the witnesses that the prosecution had, right, are around this issue of conspiracy and cover-up. That's their theory, and Michael Cohen will bring it home. And so if all goes right, that theory that there was a conspiracy and cover-up with respect to what? With respect to this whole catch-and-kill scheme, not in and of itself illegal, but with regard to concealing it and covering it up by invoices that were phony, by other types of business records like ledgers, like checks that were meant to reimburse, not for purposes of retainer fees or anything legally, services that were provided, but as a bonus and, of course, as repayment for Michael Cohen's covering this up to boost the election prospects of Donald Trump. And so if everyone else puts Donald Trump in the room, certainly Michael Cohen puts Donald Trump at the table because he could speak to the issues of how this all came about, what the grand scheme was all about, how Alan Weisselberg, who's serving time in prison, who was the chief financial officer of the Trump organization, was involved. Not testifying, by the way. So that is going to be the prosecution's wish, that he just brings it home, he is in Michael Cohen, to establish this conspiracy, this cover-up, and to otherwise establish Trump's guilt. That's the best case scenario. But again, Danny, everyone's waiting for the cross-examination of Michael Cohen.
Well, let's talk about the Joey, because I know you've been talking about this for several weeks now. The main problem that Michael Cohen faces is this big question of credibility. He's been convicted of perjury, which he says he did, for the former president. But I guess, especially after seeing the cross-examination of Stormy Daniels last week, does the defense, do you think, need to beat up Michael Cohen on this credibility issue, or just leave it at, you can't trust anything this guy says and walk away?
So I think there's a couple of imperatives, right? There's what the right thing to do legally to establish your case from a defense perspective. And then there's what their boss, Donald Trump, wants to see. You mentioned Stormy Daniels. What was the essence of the cross-examination on the second day of Stormy Daniels? You got this everything out the first day that you want to argue when you're closing, that she hates the president, she couldn't be trusted, and she knows nothing about the records. But Trump says, get in there, humiliate her. And I think that, in answer to your question, is what we're going to see as it relates to Michael Cohen. Trump wants him to be really annihilated. And so we're going to hear about you're a perjurer. Is that right, sir? Nothing that comes out of your mouth we can trust. And in fact, you've made a living off of, right, savaging the president. You were wearing a shirt that had him in jail, right? That was on your podcast, right? We're going to hear all about that. You wanted to go to the White House. He wouldn't take you to the White House. So all of those things are going to happen. The issue with me, Danny, is whether that matters. Why do I say that? Because so many of the other witnesses already said what Michael Cohen is going to say. As I noted, the other witnesses in tandem have Trump involved in this whole entire deal to really conceal and cover up, et cetera. They just, again, put him in the room. They just don't put him at the table. And that's what Michael Cohen's going to do by saying we had these face-to-face meetings. There was this Oval Office meeting where we talked about the whole reimbursement. That's where we said how we would structure the deal so that no one would know. But guess what? Everyone found out. And the issue now is going to be what, if any, involvement Trump had. I think other witnesses would otherwise suggest he had a lot of involvement. But Michael Cohen will tell everybody about the specific nature of that involvement. And that's the open question.
Last thing, Jerry, just before we go, I'm curious your perspective, because I think that we actually saw a lot of restraint when it came to the former president and